This is Urick's skull. This is the skull of Urick.
Billy Crystal built his career on impressions and roasts. He even used blackface in 2012 and faced massive backlash. But through all the controversy, one celebrity remained completely untouched. People asked why, producers pushed him. Writers begged for material. Crystal refused every single time. Then in 1991 during the Oscars, cameras caught something nobody was supposed to see. A moment so raw it explained everything. By 2021, Crystal finally admitted the truth in a film dedicated to this person. The grief never left. And now we know why he could never make that joke. Billy Crystal walked into the world already surrounded by music. He was born on March 14, 1948 at Doctors Hospital in Manhattan, and the sound around him was not random noise. It was jazz. It was stories. It was people making magic in real time. His father, Jack Crystal, managed the Commodore Music Store, a famous place in New York City where jam sessions could break out like a thunderstorm. Stars like Billie Holiday and Gene Krupa would show up. And while other kids were still figuring out what the world even was, Billy was standing close enough to feel the air change when a legend stepped in. By the time he was 5 years old, he was meeting those jazz giants. As he grew up in Long Beach, New York, the music did not fade. It got bigger. His uncle Milt Gabler founded Commodore Records, described as the first independent jazz label in the United States. And later had joined Decca Records. That meant Billy was not just hearing music, he was watching it get made. At 7 years old, he watched Gabler produce hits like Bill Haley's Rock Around the Clock. And saw the weight of names like Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald. Those moments were not just fun stories for later. They were like a secret doorway into how entertainment really works. At family dinners, Billy started mimicking radio DJs just to make people laugh. It was playful, but it was also practiced. He was learning timing without realizing it. He was learning how a voice can fill a room, and every laugh from a relative became a tiny signal that he could do something with this. Then Broadway hit him early, and it hit hard. In 1955, when was 7, his father was promoting Guys and Dolls and Billy went to the show with his family. He did not just watch it and move on. He carried it home like a spark in his pocket. Later at a family dinner, he did an impromptu stage impression of composer Frank Loesser, and it embarrassed his older brothers Joel and Richard. But it also showed something important. He was not afraid to perform even when the room might judge him. The show was a major hit, running for over 200 performances and winning multiple Tony Awards. But what mattered more to Billy was simpler. It made him feel alive. It gave him that rush. And once you feel that, you start chasing it, even if you do not know the name for it yet. But life does not stay soft just because you are talented. In 1963, tragedy landed in the middle of the family when his 32-year-old cousin Joel died of cystic fibrosis. Billy was young, and grief can confuse a young mind. So, he did what he already knew how to do. He turned the pain into something he could shape. He started organizing neighborhood talent shows not because he was trying to be famous, but because he needed a way to breathe again. He needed a way to bring light into a space that suddenly felt heavy. He would later say humor became his shield. And those shows taught him that laughter can heal. Not perfectly, not forever, but enough to get you through the night. By 1968, he graduated from Nassau Community College with an associate's degree in theater, and he kept performing wherever he could. Temple events became his training ground. One routine stood out, his impression of Sammy Davis Jr. It won him a $25 prize and got attention for how accurate it was. At the same time, it stirred controversy because some people felt it crossed a line. That moment stayed with him. He looked back and admitted it taught him lessons about sensitivity and respect. Still, that $25 mattered because it was proof that the craft could pay, even in a small way, and then he went for the deeper risk. In 1968, at 20, he took the stage at the Bitter End in Greenwich Village. It was a legendary venue known for names like Bob Dylan and Joan Rivers, and it had been operating since 1961. Billy walked in and did a tight 10-minute set about his Jewish family dynamics. He did not shrink when the room pushed back. He snapped at hecklers with sharp wit. It was raw, but it was real. Around those years, he was also building his life beside Janie Squire, his future wife. During his college Tim Eidhofer University, they created improvisational duets for open mic nights, and their bit about dating a goofy girl from Philly spread around students fast. That momentum led to an audition for a pilot of The Tonight Show in 1970. And in 1970, after earning a theater degree from New York University, he hit a crossroads. A stable teaching job was there. The safer road was open, but he chose comedy. He chose uncertainty. He even buskied impressions outside Carnegie Hall. It sounds wild, but it fits him. Because he was always trying to earn the next step with his own voice, that hunger kept sharpening him. By 1972, he joined an improvisational troupe called THRES Company on Long Island. At first, some bits fell flat. His lisp impression of Liza Minnelli got silence and confusion. That kind of silence can hurt more than booze. Still, he stayed in it and rebuilt the act until it became a full 15-minute routine. Then he got his first paid gig at $50 per show. It was not glamorous money, but it was a real milestone. The troupe ran for 4 years and it gave him space to experiment in coffee shops and college venues, learning how to read a room that did not always want to be read. Then came a moment in 1973 that burned itself into his legend. At a Catskills resort show, a drunk audience member started heckling. Billy snapped into improvisation and did a roast that mimicked Muhammad Ali's speech impediment. It almost turned into a brawl. It also cemented his reputation as someone fearless, someone who could grab the moment and twist it into comedy, even if it came with danger. That same edge followed him onto television, where the stakes got even higher. In 1977, he took the role of Jody Dallas on Soap, becoming one of primetime TV's first recurring gay characters at a time when LGBTQ+ visibility was almost non-existent. Danny, it's no joke. I'm gay, you never quit, do you? It was groundbreaking and it was risky in a way that is hard to explain now. In 1978, an episode aired where Jod considered transitioning and the backlash came fast. Death threats, mountains of hate mail. ABC added extra security for his appearances and even canceled planned promotional events because of safety concerns. Imagine carrying your script to work while knowing someone out there wants you gone. Still, he did not back down. He leaned in. He later said the threats motivated him to play Jod as a fully realized person. He improvised around 40% of Jod's lines, and that improvisation helped keep the character from becoming a cartoon. Then in 1979, controversy exploded again with a scene where Jody married a woman in drag. Network censors demanded 12 minutes be cut from the episode. Conservative groups launched nationwide protests, some stations refused to air it, advertisers faced threats of boycotts. It was loud. It was messy. And it was real, and even with all that fire, the notoriety boosted ratings and proved audiences could handle daring storytelling, even if parts of the country screamed about it. The pressure did not stay on screen either. Off-screen, tension flared with co-star Katherine Helmont. During a 1978 table read, he threatened to quit after script changes that made Jod feel less authentic. The argument reportedly lasted over an hour with both refusing to bend. Yet somehow that same intensity translated into Emmy-nominated chemistry on screen. And in the weeks after that confrontation, ratings surged by 20%, producers rewrote key scenes to meet both actors where they stood, and the season came out more layered because of it. He was learning a hard lesson in real time. If you fight for the truth of a character, it might hurt you in the room, but it can also change what the audience gets to see. Even after that, he still faced the familiar sting of rejection. After Soap ended, he guest-starred on Saturday Night Live in 1980 with his impression of Fernando Lamas. Lorne Michaels thought the sketch was too slick and cut it before airing. Billy was crushed. It felt like the floor dropped out, but he kept moving, kept working, kept rewriting. Months later, a revised version aired and the Fernando character took off and became one of the show's beloved recurring impressions. That pattern kept repeating in his life. The door closes and he finds a window, even if he has to build it himself. And while the public was reacting, his private life was also being tested. His soap role caused a rift with Orthodox Jewish relatives. In November 1978, some family members boycotted Thanksgiving dinner, accusing him of promoting sin and shaming the family. That kind of rejection cuts deep because it comes from the people who are supposed to be safe. He carried that pain and he turned it into material. In his 1981 stand-up special, he joked about coming out as straight and the laugh had a shadow inside it because the joke was also a bruise. Billy Crystal walked into Saturday Night Live at a strange moment. Eddie Murphy had just left. The show was shaky and nobody knew what would stick. Then in March 1984, Crystal introduced a character named Fernando during Weekend Update. At first it felt small, almost casual, but then he leaned forward, looked straight at the camera, and said, "You look marvelous." Something clicked, the phrase spread fast. Soon, Fernando had his own sketch, Fernando's Hideaway, where Crystal improvised fake interviews with celebrities like Hulk Hogan and Howard Cosell. There were no cue cards, no safety net, just Crystal thinking on his feet in front of up to 15 million viewers. Every appearance felt dangerous and alive. During a rough era for SNL, Fernando quietly helped steady the show, and by the mid-1980s, that single word had turned into a cultural echo that popped up everywhere from late-night jokes to song parodies. But Crystal's SNL journey almost collapsed before it even began. His first taped sketch featured Morty the Mime, a strange and ambitious piece set in the African wilderness, blending old Hollywood drama with silent comedy. It ran 6.5 minute utes, too long. The sketch relied on live sound effects, including Don Partardo crunching potato chips to imitate footsteps. When the pilot aired, Morty was gone, cut completely. Crystal was crushed. He later said it was one of the most painful nights of his early career, and he nearly quit the show on the spot. Yet, that disappointment pushed the producers to keep him around, leading to a full season contract and the breakout run that followed. By 1986, Crystal was no longer just a performer, he was shaping the tone of the show. That year, he co-wrote the Rich Little Show parody, playing multiple figures, including Ronald Reagan in drag. The sketch was sharp and risky. Viewers complained. Dozens of FCC complaints rolled in. Still, the comedy landed. Crystal won his first Emmy for the writing. It was a quiet confirmation that his instincts were right, even when they made people uncomfortable. At the same time, tension grew backstage. Crystal clashed with Dana Carvey over overlapping impressions, especially a Sammy Davis Jr. bit. Crystal refused to share it. He wanted full control. The argument became legend among cast stories, a reminder that SNL was not just about laughs, but about territory. His final SNL sketch in 1985 felt like a release. Guest host Robin Williams joined him for a long roast and the energy exploded. Williams fired off improvised lines at lightning speed, Crystal matched him beat for beat. That moment did not feel like a goodbye. It felt like the start of something else. A friendship that would last for years and shape both of their lives. Outside of SNL, Crystal's career took sharp turns. His film debut in 1978 came with Rabbitist, a bizarre movie where he played a man who becomes pregnant after a science experiment goes wrong. The film shocked audiences and critics hated it. Still, it made $4.7 million on a $1.50 million budget. It was strange, messy, unforgettable. It was also Joan Rivers' only time directing a film shot in just 21 days. Crystal threw himself into the role without fear, even during an infamous birth scene involving a vacuum cleaner. Years later, the movie gained cult status. Michael Keaton's first film role was hidden in there, too, waiting to be noticed. In 1984, Crystal appeared briefly as Morty the Mime again, this time in This Is Spinal Tap. He wasn't credited, silent, paid a $500 bonus, yet his exaggerated poses and wordless mockery of the band became one of the film's most remembered moments. Without speaking, he stole the scene. It was proof that his timing did not depend on dialogue. Then came Running Scared in 1986. Crystal played a stressed Chicago cop who turns to cocaine. It shocked people. During a chase scene, he did his own stunts and broke his ankle. Production stopped. He healed quickly and came back to finish the movie, which went on to make over 38 Detroit died $8 million. The pain stayed on screen. It made the performance feel raw. It showed he was willing to get hurt for the work. A year later, Throw Mama from the Train let him go even further. Playing Larry Donner, Crystal improvised more than 20 different murder ideas. One involved a chainsaw, too violent, cut, others stayed. Director Danny DeVito let him roam freely, and that looseness became the heart of the film. The comedy felt alive because it was. That same year, The Princess Bride nearly lost him. The Miracle Max prosthetic caused a severe allergic reaction and swelled his face so badly that producers considered replacing him with Robin Williams. Crystal pushed through. He had lived almost everything. The cast laughed so hard that filming nearly shut down. Mandy Patinkin bruised a rib trying not to laugh. Hours of unused footage piled up. What remained became some of the most quoted moments in the film. Then came When Harry Met Sally. During casting in 1988, Rob Reiner considered Tom Hanks, but Crystal walked into the table ready and sounded like Reiner himself, recently divorced, nervous, honest. The connection was instant. Crystal even helped shape the script behind the scenes, adding uncredited material and testing boundaries during rehearsals. The deli scene took 65 takes. Me Ryan went Allen. The room was tense. Crystal felt the scene needed one final push. He suggested the line, "I'll have watched having." It was improvised. It changed everything. The film made $92 million, earned 3 Oscar nominations. Crystal turned down a sequel in 1990, afraid it would ruin the ending. Billy Crystal has always trusted moments that feel real, even when no one plans them. That is why one of the most famous scenes of his career was never written down. In City Slickers in 1991, the quiet speech about finding your one thing did not come from a script. It came from life. Crystal had once talked late into the night with Jack Palance about growing older and feeling lost. Palance carried that weight with him onto the set. So when the camera rolled, he looked at Crystal and said it out loud. "One thing, just one thing. Stick to that and the rest does not matter." The crew froze. You could feel it land in the room. Crystal later admitted the power of the moment came from Palance himself, from his own struggles and scars. The movie was made for $17 million and went on to earn more than $130 million worldwide. Palance won the Oscar. Yet years later, people still talk about that scene because it feels like someone telling you the truth when you least expect it. That need for truth followed Crystal into everything he did next. When he made Mr. Saturday Night in 1992, his first film as a director, had decided to play Buddy Young Jr. from age 30 all the way to 80. He refused shortcuts. Every day meant layers off prosthetics. Sometimes it took up to 12 hours just to get him ready. His skin broke out. Infections followed. His head felt so heavy he joked it weighed 9 pounds. The crew watched him drag himself through scenes exhausted and hurting, but he never backed off. The makeup team pushed effects further than most films dared at the time. The film earned respect for how real his transformation felt. It also showed how far Crystal was willing to go just to make a character feel honest. That same instinct guided Forget Paris in 1995. The story came from his own honeymoon mistakes, including losing his wallet back in 1970. He kept rewriting scenes to match real life. He pushed for reshoots. Those choices cost the studio an extra $3 million, bringing the budget to $30 million. Crystal did not care. He wanted Paris to feel lived in. He wanted marriage to look messy, not magical. He even brought in real NBA stars like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and David Robinson to ground his role as a basketball referee. The film stood out because it focused on what happens after the romance fades. It took risks that made it personal. By the time Analyze This arrived in 1999, Crystal was still chasing something deeper than laughs. To build the strange bond between a mob boss and a therapist, he and Robert De Niro went to real therapy together. These were not rehearsals, they were conversations. De Niro opened up about fears he rarely shared. Filming paused for 2 weeks. No one complained. What came out of those sessions showed up on screen. The movie made over $16 million worldwide. More than that, it proved real emotion could lift comedy into something lasting. Even animation pushed him to the edge. For Monsters Incorporated in 2001, Crystal recorded the voice off Mike Wazowski in nearly 300 sessions. He screamed,